he will have a presentation, and after that we're gonna have a discussion with Enrico Toja from the on remote from the hospital, and then after that we're gonna have a presentation by Mufti Morgan from Hansoil. So please, Mateo, can we give the floor to Dimitris from Green Fund? Great. Yeah. Hello, Dimitris. Can you hear me? Hello, Dimitris. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great, great. I just have a presentation, and I don't know if you listened before, but I was saying thank you and Green Fund for the support and funding our event to make this possible. This is the fourth day of our event of the Eco Week. The first day we had the launching with our exceptional guest, the Prince Albert II of Monaco. The second day we have the Mayor Summit, and we had the pleasure to have big discussions with different mayors from different parts of Greece. The third day we had and today we're gonna start with you about circular economy. So I give you the floor. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Καλημέρα. Καλημέρα από την Αθήνα. Σας ευχαριστώ και εγώ πολύ για την πρόσκληση. Είναι χαρά μας που το Πράσινο Ταμείο χρηματοδοτεί για δεύτερη συνεχόμενη χρονιά το συμπόσιο της Ελαφονήσου, το οποίο εξηγήθηκε πέρσι με πολύ μεγάλη επιτυχία. Εύχομαι καλή επιτυχία και φέτος. Και βέβαια δεν μπορώ να παραλείψω τις ευχές μου για ταχεία ανάρρωση στον Ενρίκο, που είναι η ψυχή αυτού
the best because we all know that he is the soul of this event. I wish him the best, and I hope that next year he will be able to be here with us strong, and I wish for your event to be even more successful, because we all want to promote the protection of Elafonisos and the projects that you want to do in order to improve the environment. Starting my presentation, I would like to say a few words on the contribution of the Green Fund in the implementation of the circular transition of our country. And then I will say a few words about the circular economy program that has been implemented by the Green Fund, coordinated by the Ministry of Environment, along with 18 more European partners for the implementation of circular economy in Greece. The Green Fund is a public law person that has been supervised by the Ministry of Environment and Energy. It was founded in 2010, and it is the successor, if you wish, of the special fund for the regulatory and planning projects. Some of our resources of our funds come from fines, and we also receive funding from the Blue Fund, as well as from selling the rights for the greenhouse gas emissions. Our goals are the following. We want to strengthen growth through environmental protection by promoting projects and actions that would benefit the environment. This is how we support our country's environmental and energy policy and serve the public and social interest through the management, administration, and the utilization of its resources. The beneficiaries, which is the institutions that can get funding from the Green Fund, apart from the Ministry of Environment and Energy itself and other ministries, other decentralized administrations, the local government organizations, are the other public legal persons, and as well other associations that have as a goal to protect, revamp, and restore the environment. And we will discuss some of the projects that we have been funding. So our funding programs are structured in pillars. There are specific beneficiaries that could receive funding and specific criteria that must be met in order to safeguard transparency and to safeguard that we serve the goals of the relevant policies. So, the programs that we fund should be based on very specific environmental policy. The pillars then are described, are detailed in various measures, and this is how we fund the projects. This year, one of our largest projects that we have been funding is the one called Natural Environment and Innovative Actions, with a budget of more than 12 million euros. And there is another part of this budget that is given to the ongoing projects, and it is structured. It is the first axis of priority. Then we have the second axis of priority regarding actions for conserving the biodiversity, innovative actions, smart cities, other actions, and actions regarding the openness of 2023. This axis has been also funding this event in Elafonisos. The third priority axis concerns research and implementation, is addressed to research institutions and academic institutions such as universities, and this year we have included 20 more universities in this action, and those were added to the last 10 that we have had in 2022. We also have a program called Actions for the Environmental Balance of more than 17 million euros, which concerns the urban revival. The Green Fund plays a very important role on an EU project called LIFE, and this is why the Green Fund is the national contact point for the LIFE programs in Greece. Yorgos Protopapas is also our director. So, the European LIFE program, with the help of the Green Fund, apart from the support it gives to other institutions that seek to implement LIFE projects, which means that we try to develop some dynamics. We are here to offer consulting to any stakeholder seeks to prepare a proposal in order to be funded by the LIFE program. Through the previous similar program that started in 2016 and in 2022, the European, rather the Green Fund, helped the ministry to undertake 3 integrated projects, the so-called IP, in order to implement the strategies of Greece regarding climate change, biodiversity, and circular economy. The ministry implemented first the LIFE IP Natura with a budget of 17 million euros, which was co-funded with 4 million euros by the Green Fund, which means that Green Fund and the European Commission co-fund this program. Next year, we received funding for the Life Adapt in GR project, which will help us adapt to the climate change with a budget of 14.2 million euros. And we participated in the funding with 2.4 million euros. And last but not least, in 2018, the ministry undertook, with the support of LIFE, the Circular Economy Implementation IP in Greece, which was co-funded by us with 2.5 million euros and total budget of 15.9 million euros. And now I would like to say a few words on the Circular Greece IP. This is the program that I work right now. I coordinate and implement the actions of that project. As you can see, it is a project with various partners, 20 partners. The coordination lies with the Ministry of Environment and Energy, the Greek Recycling Organization, the NECA also organization, and other partners, such as local administration organizations, the municipality of Athens and the municipality of Thessaloniki. We have a lot of insular municipalities, the municipality of Elafonisos, Paros, Antiparos, municipality of Tinos, the island of Tinos. I don't know if I have forgotten any other municipality, the municipality of Navpaktia, for example, which is a mountainous municipality, and we also have a waste management organization in Western Macedonia, and the Daphne network also participates from the civil society and the Karakopion University, which specializes in food waste management. There is also the central market of Thessaloniki, and they organize actions in order to prevent food waste. The municipality of Varis Vouliagmen is implementing a lot of actions within the framework of this project, and companies such as Terra Nova, and of course a lot, who is a certification and standardization institution that helps us with standardizing for circular economy. Our project includes various pilot projects. You can see here some pilot areas, and a very important area for this project is the region of Western Macedonia. We will try there to manage the dangerous, the hazardous household waste, which are rather small in quantity but very high in toxicity. So we will set up contact and collection points for all the hazardous household waste, and this pilot project will also be implemented in the municipality of Athens, meaning that we will also set up points for the collection of those hazardous wastes. Of course, other very important actions will take place in the island of Sporades, such as Elafonisos, and in Cyclades, such as Paros, Tinos, and Antiparos. We want to implement the alternative waste collection, and we want also to find circular economy initiatives based on the specific characteristics of each island. A very important pilot action that will run in the Varis Vouliagmen municipality is the implementation of financial tools that could promote circular economy, such as the pay as you throw, which tries to abolish
τη χρέωση των δημοτικών τελών βάσει
the
των τετραγωνικών
municipal
των κατοικιών και να την εκλογικεύσει και να τη
taxes,
συνδέσει
and we
με την
try
παραγωγή
to
αποβλήτων
combine it
του
with
τοπίου.
waste
Κάτι
that
το
is
οποίο
produced by its
μπορεί
household.
προοδευτικά να μειώσει και τα
And
ποσοστά
we know that that
των
will
σύλληπτων απορριμμάτων, να αυξήσει τα ποσοστά της
increase
ανακύκλωσης και
the
της
recycling
οικοσυντήρησης
rates and the
και
compost
να
rates,
βοηθήσει τους πολίτες να
and will
χρεώνονται
help
πιο
citizens
δίκαια
pay
ανάλογα με τα
in a more
απόβλητα
fair
που
way based on the
πετούν.
waste that they actually produce and they throw.
Ο αντίκτυπος που αναμένεται να έχουμε από την υλοποίηση αυτού του έργου είναι
The
ότι
expected
θα
impact of this
βελτιωθεί η
project
περιβαλλοντική
is
συμπεριφορά
to improve the environmental
εταιριών,
performance of
φορέων,
companies
πολύ
and
ιδιαίτερα
industries,
στο κομμάτι του
especially in the
αγροτικού τομέα.
agri-food sector.
Θα βελτιωθεί η συμπεριφορά
We
των
expect to
πολιτών
improve the
αναφορικά
citizens'
με τη διαχείριση
attitudes
αποβλήτων,
towards waste
αυτό
management,
σημαίνει ότι θα
meaning
κοινωνούν και
that
θα δράσουν για την πρόληψη παραγωγής αποβλήτων, για
we
την
will achieve
επαναχρησιμοποίηση,
prevention of
την
waste,
προετοιμασία για
reuse,
επαναχρησιμοποίηση,
we will
όλη
help
δηλαδή
them prepare
την
for reuse.
πυραμίδα της διαχείρισης αποβλήτων όπως πρέπει να είναι από την κορυφή. Θα βελτιωθούν οι υπηρεσίες
We believe that
διαχείρισης αποβλήτων από
the
τους Δήμους.
waste management
Θα
services by the
προαχθούν οι
municipalities
δράσεις
will be also improved,
πρόληψης παραγωγής
and we
αποβλήτων
want to
τροφίμων.
promote
Και
food
όπως
waste
ξέρουμε,
prevention.
και γι' αυτό έχει συσταθεί και η στρατηγική
This
της
is why
Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης
there is
από
the
το
EU
φάρμα στο
strategy
χωράφι στο
from
οποίο
farm to
φτιάχνουν,
fork,
με
this
σκοπό σε όλα
initiative
τα στάδια παραγωγής
that
τροφής
seeks
να
to
μειωθούν τα απόβλητα στο κίνητρο και
prevent
αυτό
food
θα
waste
βοηθήσει
during
να
the food chain.
ενεργούμε
And
να
this is one of the expected
θα γίνουν
impacts of our
δράσεις στο
project
ύψος
as
του
well.
δυναμικού
We
για
will
να
try
ενισχύσουν
to organize
το επίπεδο
capacity
γνώσεων,
building
περίληψης στην
actions
διοικητική
in order
οικονομία
to
σε όλες τις
raise
περιφέρειες,
awareness
δράσεις
of
επικοινωνίας
stakeholders for the development
και
of circular economy.
ενσωμάτωση
And
κριτηρίων
we will
και
also
αρχών κυβικής οικονομίας
we will focus on
μέσα
the
στα
integration of circular
χρηματοδοτικά
economy
εργαλεία
principles
που
in
χρησιμοποιεί
the
η χώρα
funding criteria
συμπεριλαμβανομένων
that
και
our
αυτών
country
που
has been setting,
έχει το
including
πράσινο ταμείο.
those of the Green Fund.
Οικονομικά μέτρα
So,
είναι πάρα πολύ σημαντικά για την εφαρμογή
when it comes to
της
financial
κυβικής οικονομίας,
measures, which are very important for the implementation of circular economy,
που βοηθούν στην προώθηση της
that will
πρόληψης
help
παραγωγής
us
αποβλήτων.
promote
Τα
food
προγράμματα πλέον
waste
πετάω
prevention.
και
The
αυτά
programs
για πρώτη φορά
Pay
στη
as I
χώρα μας
throw,
θα
for the
πλήρη
first
βήματα
time will
σε
be
έναν όποιο
implemented
Δήμο
in Greece in
και να αποτελέσουν
an entire
έναν
municipality, and we believe that they will be a
αλλαγή στο πώς
lighthouse of
πρέπει να γίνεται η
change
διαχείριση στα
when it
σπίτια
comes
και
to
αυτοδιοίκηση.
waste management in the local administration. We will support green public contracts in order to encourage people to use environmental friendly products and reduce waste also, and we will make some recommendation towards the banks, towards insurance funds and towards investors in order to help the funding of the circular economy and also accelerate it. Another very important part of the project that has been undertaken by the Green Fund is the capacity building that will be based on very specific objects that are the result of a survey with the public. For example, Pay as I throw, we will try to raise awareness when it comes to the reuse centers of materials in order to reuse and to buy second-hand products, the so-called KVEI, which are institutions that are necessary to be established in all municipalities. We know that in the Western Macedonia they have already been running in a very impressive way, and we should also raise awareness to all local administration organizations in all the regions in order to take up that initiative as well. And we will also raise awareness regarding the food waste. We will try to reduce it, and we will also raise awareness regarding the textile products, which is an issue that has also environmental, financial and social aspects, and we will try also to inform them for new circular business models such as product as a service. We know that circular economy seeks to focus on those kinds of models. We will also educate and train people when it comes to green public contracts. We already have a green strategy. Greece already has a green strategy that should be implemented. We should also try to inform them for the opportunities both in the public and the private sector from the utilization of bio-waste that we know that all municipalities will set up brown bins in order to collect bio-waste, the sharing economy, which means that we will be able to share resources and not the resources should not be used by one owner alone, as well as information will be dissemination when it comes to sustainable consumption, which means that each one of us should change our behavior and include criteria in order to choose products in a better way. And last but not least, for funding tools. The first awareness campaign and capacity building action will start in just 14 days from today in the Eastern Macedonian Thrace in Alexandroupolis, and as I have said, will take place from the 14th to the 16th of June. It is the first event that we have been organizing for capacity building in Greece, and the rest of the 12 regions will also follow. We also have been organizing an awareness raising event on the 13th of June, and as I have told you, from 14th to the 16th of June, it is the first capacity building workshop. It has been co-organized by the region and the Green Fund, since we are responsible for that project. I would like to thank you very much. This is the end of my presentation. I would like to assure you that we will also come to Peloponnese in order to organize this project, and it will be our pleasure to have you with us in the capacity building event, in the capacity building workshop, in order to discuss all those aspects of circular economy in a more practical way, to play circular economy games that will help us understand all the stakeholders within the chain of the stakeholders that should participate in order to implement circular economy principles. Until then, I wish you the best to your conference, and thank you very much one more time for your invitation.
Dimitris, thank you very much. Ευχαριστούμε πολύ για την παρουσία και ευχόμαστε το επόμενο Elafonisos Eco Week να είσαι εδώ στο νησί και να σε βλέπουμε από κοντά, να σε δούμε από κοντά.
Θα το ήθελα πάρα πολύ, αλλά όπως
I'd
ξέρετε,
really love that.
οι μέρες είναι πολύ
But you
κοντά
know,
με τις εκδηλώσεις που ετοιμάζουμε και εμείς και δυστυχώς
usually you organize that in a period which is very close to our organization, and this is why we can able to attend physically, but I will do my best to attend physically
Τέλεια,
next year.
τέλεια, ναι. Και εμείς σε περιμένουμε.
Thank you.
Ευχαριστούμε
We're
πολύ.
looking forward to receiving you.
Great. Okay. Okay, and now we are going to have the presentation about the lionfish by Jason Hall Spencer, a professor of marine biology. It's you. So, please, the floor is yours.
Thanks. I am very pleased with this shirt. It's my best souvenir ever. Yeah, okay. So he's getting the thing ready. I should have. They look a little bit like lionfish, actually. Some of them, yeah. Mhm. Did you all try lionfish this week? No? Okay, you missed it. Okay. We had a fantastic meal on the seafront, and they taste really good. The only problem, really, is that they're a little bit small. They're a little bit small for making fillets, but for soup and for ceviche and things like that, they're really good. Okay, can you start my presentation?
Who in the room doesn't know about the lionfish? You don't know?
No, my mother Stephanie is full of lionfish, but I don't know.
Okay. And Stefan, you also don't know?
Do I have to, or can they hear me without? Okay.
Listen live, but the microphone is for the remote.
Okay.
When you push the controller, point to my white PC, because the controller is there. Your presentation is open already.
All right, thanks very much. So as you can see, I'm from the University of Plymouth in the UK, and I've also got a position at the University of Tsukuba, which is in Japan. And they love fish in Japan, so they're very interested in this invasion that's happening in the Mediterranean. Okay. So this project was run in Cyprus, and it involved two universities, my university and the University of Cyprus. It had a company called Marine Environmental Research, which is based in Limassol. There's the NGO in Elafonisos, which I think you guys are working with already, which is in Nicosia. And then we had the fisheries, the Department of Fisheries involved as well. And they were very, very helpful because they were able to change the law in order for us to be able to catch lionfish using scuba equipment.
You have to move the emergency one, so keep it near you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. So we've produced this guide to lionfish management in the Mediterranean. But unfortunately, we've run out of print copies. So I've got a copy on my USB stick in my pocket if anyone wants one. And we're looking for a little bit of funding from somebody in order to print more. Just a bit of money to print maybe 100 more copies of this to spread around the countries of the Mediterranean. So what it is, it's not a scientific publication. It's designed for policymakers and managers. There is science obviously behind everything we say in the report, but it's referenced at the end of the report. So we describe how to do lionfish removals, how to develop markets for the products that you make from the lionfish. I can't read that very well, I'll read this one. Research monitoring and regional cooperation, because of course in Cyprus there are two regions of the Cyprus country, and you need people to talk to each other across that boundary in order to tackle an invasive species like this. Okay, so we were very, very proud and pleased that the Prince of Monaco was able to sign our book, which is fantastic. And I'll just run through, before you go to sleep listening to me, the key recommendations that we had, okay? So number one, target the lionfish quickly. In some places in the Caribbean that's worked, and so they've been able to avoid lionfish attacking their ecosystems. Rapidly develop opportunities for commercial and recreational fisheries. I've seen some lionfish in the markets in Greece, but not much. It needs to be a lot more. And there needs to be a focus on the legal challenges because at the moment, for example, it's illegal to fish using scuba equipment anywhere in the Mediterranean. We got a special scientific permit to do it, but that really needs to change, especially if you want to keep your marine protected areas free of this invasive species. I'm not an economist, but for the people in the audience that are, you clearly need to create supply chains for the products. There's something strange about this fish. It really does, something's happening again. It really does get the public interested because it's such an amazing looking fish. Nobody needs to be persuaded to be interested in it because as soon as you get people in the room looking at these things, they're like, wow, this is amazing. And then when you taste it, it's really, really delicious as well. And the people that get involved with culling the lionfish then become kind of advocates for the environment as well, because they then know a lot more about the fish and the environment as well, so it sort of spreads. That's exactly what happened in Cyprus anyway. What you need to do is set thresholds in terms of what environmental benefits you want to get from culling the lionfish, find out what the social impacts you want to have are, and then you can assess how your activities are working against those targets. It'd be good to monitor at sentinel locations. So, for example, in the Straits of Sicily, that's a gateway that hasn't been penetrated by the lionfish yet. It would be a good idea to be keeping a careful look on there, because I think these fish are likely to spread all through the Mediterranean. They need to be immediately put on the lionfish on the agenda legally, and we've been knocking on the door in Brussels saying, look, guys, we really need this fish to be listed as a species of concern, because until that happens, the authorities don't need to do anything about it. Okay, so that's a legal challenge. And the last one there, probably the most important one, which unfortunately is covered up by my ugly mug, is this need for security, biodiversity security in the Suez Canal, because that's where these organisms are coming from. Okay, so that's the key points. You can go to sleep now if you want. So this spread of the lionfish is the fastest ever recorded in the world. It's spreading really, really rapidly, like wildfire, in the Mediterranean Sea. We first saw, my PhD student and I first saw them off Cyprus in 2015, and that coincided with the time at which the Suez Canal was being widened and deepened. I don't know if you remember seeing that big ship, the Evergreen, wedged in the Suez Canal. Well, because ships are getting bigger, they're making the canal wider and deeper, okay, which is letting these fish through. And you can see the timeline here that the fish have spread to Sicily and Tunisia just within a few years. So that's one problem, the Suez Canal, the main problem. The other, oops, gone too fast. The other is this expansion of the Suez Canal. So you can see some facts and figures up there, but they make a lot of money. So £1.2 million is the price of bringing a big ship through the canal. Okay, so
just a little pause because we can't hear you. So sorry, but it's difficult to handle this way.
it's good, you can read the facts and figures.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. So like that says, they're obviously trying to widen and expand the canal and make it quicker and easier for big ships to come through. But of course, by doing that, what's happened is they've removed an area that used to be called the Bitter Lakes. There's feedback on this, I think. The Bitter Lakes are an area that was high salinity in Egypt along the course of the canal that acted as a biosecurity control, because fish like lionfish could not get through this high salinity region of the canal. Now that's been removed a few years ago, and it's just like a cut artery with things pumping through on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, coming from the Pacific Ocean through into the Mediterranean and radically changing the ecology of the fisheries of Greece. And of course, this is going to very, very strongly affect the fishermen locally on this island and others. Okay, coupled with the biosecurity breach of the Suez Canal, there's also the fact that the seas around us are warming, and the Mediterranean is warming more quickly than most areas on the planet. So the surface of the ocean here is going to be warmer this year than it's ever been before. Okay? The records were broken last year, and they're going to be broken again this year because of what Natalie was talking about yesterday, the warming of the planet due to CO2. So we expect this fish to spread all the way through into French and Spanish waters, and probably through the Straits of Gibraltar and up the coast of Portugal. So it's a pretty major issue. And this is what they look like now. This is, I showed this film to you, and he said, "Is this the Red Sea?" And I went, "No, this is Cyprus." So this is what it looks like just off Limassol now. It's incredible. So I was diving there only a few years ago. These fish did not exist, and now they're all over the place, hundreds and hundreds and thousands of them. So what are we trying to do about it? Well, we're organising these removal teams. Okay, so this is a famous wreck in Cyprus, a really big passenger ship called the Zenobia, and people are really getting enthused and want to be involved in helping this environmental disaster. So what we do is we train and equip the divers with using short spear poles. Long spear poles can be used to catch all sorts of fish. But you noticed, I hope, on the last bit of video that these fish stay still in the daytime. The technical term for them is crepuscular, which means they feed and hunt when it's dim light. So at dawn and at dusk, they're very active, but through the day, they just sit still. Once we catch the fish, we have either barbecues on the beach, which is good fun, or we try to get celebrity chefs involved from the best restaurants in Cyprus, to show all the fancy ways in which you can make these fish appealing to look at and to eat. And it did work really well, actually. And so here's a picture of how shallow the lionfish can be. Definitely, if you're swimming and snorkeling, you can definitely get stung. And the sting is about 20 times more powerful than a bee sting. I don't think anybody has ever been killed by lionfish, but I think the sting is incredibly painful. My PhD student dropped a fish on his foot and couldn't really talk for a couple of hours because it was so painful. So if you're bathing in these waters, it's dangerous, and it's not going to be long, I think, until people start cancelling flights if they are getting stung in the waters around here, because they don't want to get, obviously, hurt. Now, there's lots of details in this management report at the back in the appendices. So there's things that list the pros and cons of spearfishing, the pros and cons of commercial fishing with nets, etc. And then there's natural controls. It's the natural controls that I would really like to see happen, whereby you have marine protected areas that protect large fish like grouper and shark, which can then attack the lionfish. That would be the ideal. But in the meantime, commercial fishing and spearfishing is the way forwards. Now, I'm not going to go through the list of things that are there, but for example, with spearfishing, you can only spearfish in small areas. But that's useful if you want to target a marine protected area. You can clean the lionfish out and allow the native fish to thrive. What has not worked? Well, one thing that's very dangerous to do is try to teach predators how to catch these fish. So what people were doing was they were feeding the fish to the sharks, but the sharks are a bit clumsy when they're eating, and they can bite you. And then they also associate divers with food, and so they start to chase the divers around, and that's really quite dangerous. Something else that didn't work is having bounty schemes, so whereby the government or other people invest money in paying people to go out and catch fish. That actually doesn't work. So if this foundation was trying to raise money to get people to go and catch these fish, they'd spend their money quickly, and that would run out, and people would be like, well, hey, why can't we carry on getting paid to do this? Actually, though, it's really good fun. Well, I find it fun anyway, to catch these lionfish, and lots of members of the public do enjoy doing it. Men, women, old people, young people alike. So, what is needed is regular culling. You need to monitor the places. There's no point in organising an event if there's not many lionfish in the water, because people get all excited and then they can't catch any. So that doesn't work. You need to wait until there's sufficient numbers to organise a big derby or jamboree or event that people can enjoy. And this has worked in some islands in the Caribbean where there's also a lionfish invasion underway. Other things that have worked, the development of commercial fisheries. Now Belize is exporting lionfish to the USA, which is good for the economy of Belize, and it could be good for the economy of this island as well. There's a lady that makes her entire living out of hunting lionfish. She's the only one who does. This camaraderie aspect is an added benefit of these derbies, because people get to know each other. They share a passion for the environment. They share a passion for the sea. And so they become advocates for ocean protection, which is fantastic. Okay, so this is an event that we ran. We ran loads of these events all over the island of Cyprus. And it built this social capital that I'm talking about, whereby the divers are organised and trained. Obviously, you don't want them shooting the wrong fish, for example. Luckily, though, lionfish are so distinctive, you're unlikely to fish anything else. We didn't have any problems with people breaking the rules and collecting the wrong types of fish. All sorts of added benefits of these derbies, of education, conservation awareness, tasting events, new collaborations, increased tourist spending. This is all, we found by surveying people like divers, would you be willing to pay to go on these events? And they are. They want to get involved. So this is a money-making opportunity. You can't read this, I'm afraid. It's a bit too small, the screen. But basically, what we've done is go through the steps needed to set up these scuba diving events. Of the big figures there's been a 400% increase in lionfish around the waters of Cyprus in the last 3 years, and a 64% decrease in numbers where the lionfish have been hunted by divers. Okay. Now the graph, I'm so sorry, the graph doesn't really, it's been a bit cut off, but basically what we're saying is in areas that are fished, lionfish numbers have gone up. In areas that are fishing and culling, lionfish numbers have gone down. And where there's protected areas, and this is a bit ironic because I'm very pro-protection, in the protected areas where there's no fishing allowed, the lionfish have gone up enormously. So this concept of marine protected areas needs to be handled quite carefully in the Levant part of the Mediterranean, because you don't want them to be hotspots of breeding of invasive species, which is what they are at the present day. Have I done that already? Yes, sorry. Okay, so back to the culling events. What we've done is assess the biology of these fish, and there's various things that make them superb invasive species. One aspect is that they mature quickly, like within 2 years they're mature. They have huge numbers of eggs, by that I mean millions of eggs, and those eggs travel in the plankton, so can spread from island to island around the region here. They are venomous, not poisonous. That's an important distinction. So they're like snakes. They've got a venom that's very, very powerful and cause a great deal of pain, but they're not toxic. You can eat them with no problem at all, and that's something that needs to be communicated to the public clearly, because lots of people think, we can't eat it, it'll be poisonous, but it's not poisonous at all, it's delicious. Okay. And they've got this jaw that can swing open and engulf, they suck in quite big fish, actually, surprisingly big fish. So it looks like it's got a small mouth, but it's actually hinge loaded and opens really wide and can suck in all sorts of different types of prey. So here's a list of the types of fish we found in the stomachs of the ones we collected, and there's a whole range here, but the important point is those are the types of fish that are important for commercially important fish in the region as well. So if these animals are hoovering up all of this bait fish for the ones we want to eat, that's not good at all, right? How big is the fish? The biggest one I've seen is about this big, okay? Yeah. So it's not an enormous fish, but it does have an enormous mouth. And it's not fussy. It will eat any other fish and crustaceans and all sorts of things, right? Not picky. The average size, I would say, is this. Yeah. Biggest ones are like this. Obviously, I won a prize. I won a prize for shooting the smallest one. It was like this. Yeah, it was funny. Because when you have these derbies, the sort of the macho divers, they want to collect the biggest one they can.
And they can eat 6 times their weight.
Yeah.
6 times their weight.
Yeah, they can really fill their bellies up huge. So in the process of developing these markets, actually the chefs and so on, once they know how to handle the fish, as you saw if you were here earlier in the week, can create really delicious dinners with them, and that has allowed us to raise the price of these fish in Cyprus. So here's some nice pictures. Obviously, this is what needs to be done regionally. I do have this IC report, by the way. So there's a lady here from IC, and they've got this Pick the Alien program going on. So please do take a look at this, because it's completely relevant to the region. Okay, so there we've got a price in a restaurant of 40 euros per kilogram for this fish. It's just as good as most of the other fish in terms of the price you can get because it tastes great. Okay, and the fishermen are collecting them by accident at the moment. I talked to some fishermen this week, and they catch them by accident. They don't like them, and they just throw them away in this region, okay? So clearly that needs to be fixed as well. What's the point in killing these animals and throwing them away? You might as well make money. And so that's where markets need to be developed locally. And I think this island could be a leader for the nation in developing this fishery. One other thing we're trying to do is create traps for these fish because scuba divers can only go down to about, well, I tend to only go down to 30 meters these days. You can go deeper, of course, but it gets more dangerous and you get less time. So to collect these fish which can live down to 120 meters deep, we're thinking about this trap mechanism. Now, the way the trap works is a bit strange because unlike a lobster pot or other types of traps that you have to attract the animals using bait, this one you only need a fence. So there's a white fence in the middle of the trap, and the fish are attracted to structure. So if this was underwater, this lectern, the fish during the day would come up next to it, okay? Point their spines out back towards you in order to protect themselves, and they don't run away, they don't move. Even if you shoot one next to it, it will stay still. So they like structure, and the idea with this trap is you then close the trap and pull it up. Now, we've tested this trap in Cyprus and caught 0 fish. But the IC program has tested this trap in Greece, and they caught 2 fish. So that's 200% better than us. But I think this is probably the way forwards. When the fishermen learn how to put it and where to put it, they know more than us, obviously. I think this would be a way to remove these fish from deeper waters. Okay, now, we've been banging on the door in Brussels saying, look, we need to put this on the union list, it's called, of species that need to be considered highly invasive, given the fact they just hoover up all the other fish that the fishermen want to catch. But they're resisting. They really are resisting doing it. And the reason they're resisting it is because if it goes on this list, that will have consequences for all of the nations in the European Union that have got a Mediterranean seaboard, because then they have to do something about it. At the moment, as far as I know, Greece is doing nothing about this problem, right? Despite the fact it's clearly and obviously really ecologically damaging and important, and is going to put lots of fishermen out of work unless it's dealt with properly. Okay, so this is the situation in the region. Can you read that? Yeah? So Greece, Turkey and Tunisia, they don't allow scuba diving and they don't allow culling yet. Turkey has officially permitted 2 of these derbies, these events so far. Lebanon doesn't legally endorse it, but is turning a blind eye. There's been special permits provided in Israel to one dive centre and to work inside marine protected areas to remove the fish from their protected areas. Special permits have been given out in Egypt to 70 scuba divers who are trained in how to use this equipment. We had special permits for Cyprus, but that's now ended, unfortunately. And it's permitted in Libya and Palestine. Okay, so this is the Pick the Alien project that's going on in Greece, and I promised the people involved with this NGO that I'd mention it because it's working quite well, not just for lionfish, but other alien species as well. I'll promote it here. Do you want to take a picture? Ta-da! Good. And it's got lionfish on the cover, which I'm pleased about. And so these are the restaurants and events that have been organised all around from the region. Obviously, they've got big points on the map, but they're obviously one restaurant at a time. So that really it should be like that for just this island. All the restaurants should know about it. The chefs should be trained. That's the way to get these numbers of these fish down. And these are the people involved with sponsoring and helping academically with the Pick the Alien project. And you see Plymouth, myself, is involved with that, but there's lots of other organisations as well. It might be that this Elafonisos should be involved with this project too. Okay, and I can't read Greek, but Yugan, these are the restaurants listed that have been involved so far. So if you know of people who run restaurants or run hotels or anything like that, try to mention this to them, because we need to start to develop a hunger amongst the public for eating these fish. Okay, so I'm coming towards the end of this presentation now, but I want to mention this poster as well, because we've got it translated into lots of the Mediterranean languages, like Arabic and French and Spanish, and I think we've got it in, I don't think we've got it for Greek, so we need a translation for Greek. But this is available. I've got this on the pen drive in my pocket as well. So what I'm asking you to do, if you don't mind, is...
Who will translate the Greek?
Huh? Zana said she would do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. And she works for the environmental agencies or something. So what I'd like you to do, please, is to take copies of this report and the poster and promulgate it around Greece, because that's essential. And if there's people that you know I should be talking to in Greece to get this on the agenda, please do let me know. There's my email. So could you please, hello, could you please start the video that's in Greek? Thank you very much. While he does that, you can see here there's the do's and don'ts. So these are don't feed them to sharks, don't rely on bounties, but there's all of these other things that are good that should be done.
Τρόπος αλίευσης του λεοντόψαρου, αφαίρεσης από τη θάλασσα και πρώτες βοήθειες. Το λεοντόψαρο είναι ένα ινδοειρηνικής προέλευσης χωροκατακτητικό είδος ψαριού, το οποίο εισέβαλε στα κυπριακά ύδατα σε διάφορα βάθη και συνεχίζει να εξαπλώνεται και σε πολλές άλλες περιοχές της Μεσογείου. Επηρεάζει αρνητικά το θαλάσσιο οικοσύστημα, στο οποίο εισβάλλει και κατ' επέκταση και την κοινωνία και η οικονομία της περιοχής. Παρόλα αυτά, το λεοντόψαρο μπορεί να καταναλωθεί. Είναι πολύ νόστιμο, ενώ με τα μαλακά πτερίγια του μπορούν να δημιουργηθούν πανέμορφα έργα τέχνης. Το έργο Rely on Mend Life έχει σκοπό μεταξύ άλλων να αναπτύξει τρόπους και εργαλεία για μείωση των πληθυσμών του λεοντόψαρου στη Μεσόγειο μέσω έγκαιρης απόκρισης και στοχευμένης αφαίρεσής τους από θαλάσσιες περιοχές και να προωθήσει τις χρήσεις του λεοντόψαρου στην τοπική αγορά, έτσι ώστε οι αφαιρέσεις λεοντόψαρων να είναι οικονομικά βιώσιμες στο μέλλον. Για να καταστούν ασφαλείς οι αφαιρέσεις λεοντόψαρων με κατάδυση, έχει ετοιμαστεί κατάλληλος εξοπλισμός, ο οποίος περιλαμβάνει λαστιχοβόλο όπλο τύπου Hawaiian Slingshot, αποθηκευτικό δοχείο και ειδικά γάντια. Το δοχείο χρησιμοποιείται για να τοποθετούνται τα λεοντόψαρα υποβρυχίως, χωρίς να χρειάζεται ο δίτης να έρθει σε επαφή με το ψάρι. Τα ειδικά γάντια χρησιμοποιούνται κυρίως έξω από το νερό, κατά το χειρισμό του ψαριού, για την αφαίρεση των σκληρών ακανθών του. Είναι σημαντικό όταν καταδύεστε για να αφαιρέσετε λεοντόψαρα να τηρείτε όλους τους κανόνες για ασφαλή κατάδυση. Επίσης, πρέπει να προσέχετε, κυρίως όταν είστε κοντά σε βράχους, σε σπήλαια, σε σκοτεινά σημεία και πάνω από θαλάσσια γρασίδια, αφού τα λεοντόψαρα συνήθως προτιμούν να κρύβονται ή να μένουν ακίνητα και ανάποδα μέσα στα σπήλαια. Δεν επιτίθενται, αλλά φέρουν σκληρά δηλητηριώδη αγκάθια για άμυνα και δεν φοβούνται το δίτη, αυξάνοντας την πιθανότητα τυχαίου τσιμπήματος. Κατά την αφαίρεση λεοντόψαρων, ο δίτης μπορεί να κρατά στον ώμο το αποθηκευτικό δοχείο, να το δώσει στον σύντροφο κατάδυσης για βοήθεια ή να το τοποθετήσει στο βυθό κοντά σε χώρο όπου τα λεοντόψαρα είναι συγκεντρωμένα. Το λαστιχοβόλο όπλο χρησιμοποιείται για τη συλλογή των λεοντόψαρων. Κρατήστε το λαστιχοβόλο όπλο με προσοχή και σύνεση. Με τη βοήθεια και των δύο χεριών σας, τεντώστε το λάστιχο που βρίσκεται στην πίσω άκρη του όπλου μέχρι περίπου να φτάσει στην κορυφή και κρατήστε μαζί το λάστιχο και τη ράβδο στο συγκεκριμένο σημείο με το ένα χέρι. Στοχεύστε το λεοντόψαρο και πλησιάστε το με την άκρη του όπλου σε απόσταση γύρω στα 10 εκατοστά, αφού εκείνο δεν μετακινείται πολύ. Ελευθερώστε τη ράβδα από το χέρι σας για να χτυπήσει το ψάρι. Είναι προτιμότερο να σκοτώσετε ή να κινητοποιήσετε το ψάρι με μια κέρια βολή στο κεφάλι ή στο σπόνδυλο. Με αυτόν τον τρόπο, το ψάρι πεθαίνει ακαριέα χωρίς να ταλαιπωρείται και ταυτόχρονα μειώνονται και οι πιθανότητες τυχαίου τσιμπήματος λόγω κίνησης του ψαριού αφού χτυπηθεί. Εάν αστοχίσετε, προσπαθήστε ξανά αφού το ψάρι ίσως να μετακινηθεί μόνο μερικά εκατοστά από εκεί που βρισκόταν νωρίτερα. Αφού χτυπήσετε το λεοντόψαρο, μεταφέρετε το μέσα στο δοχείο, πιέζοντάς το να περάσει μέσα από τη μικρή είσοδο, η οποία ανοίγει ελάχιστα προς τα μέσα για να μπει το ψάρι στο δοχείο. Αν το λεοντόψαρο είναι αρκετά μεγάλο, βάλτε το στο δοχείο με το κεφάλι πρώτα. Τραβώντας το λαστιχοβόλο όπλο να βγει από το δοχείο, το ψάρι θα μείνει μέσα στο δοχείο, ενώ το όπλο θα είναι έτοιμο για την επόμενη βολή. Αφού βγείτε από το νερό, φορώντας τα ειδικά γάντια, αναποδογυρίστε το δοχείο και ανοίξτε το για να βγάλετε τα ψάρια από μέσα. Αποφύγετε τη μεταχείριση των ψαριών με γυμνά χέρια όταν αυτά είναι ζωντανά. Επίσης, τα λεοντόψαρα μπορεί να μην κινούνται, αλλά είναι πολύ πιθανό κάποια να είναι ακόμα ζωντανά και να σπαρταρίσουν. Για το λόγο αυτό, σιγουρευτείτε ότι τα ψάρια είναι νεκρά πριν τα πιάσετε με γυμνά χέρια και χειριστείτε το ψάρι από το κεφάλι. Σε περίπτωση που τσιμπηθείτε κάτω από το νερό, ακυρώστε την κατάδυση και αναδυθείτε τηρώντας όλους τους κανόνες ασφαλείας. Οι περισσότεροι δίτες αναφέρουν ότι ο πόνος δεν έρχεται αμέσως και ότι το δηλητήριο χρειάζεται αρκετά λεπτά για να αρχίσει να λειτουργεί. Μην πανικοβληθείτε. Με την πρώτη ευκαιρία, εφαρμόστε θερμότητα για να βοηθήσετε τη διάσπαση του πρωτεϊνούχου δηλητηρίου. Χρησιμοποιήστε όση περισσότερη θερμότητα μπορείτε να ανεχτείτε χωρίς να καείτε. Συνιστάτε να κρατήσετε το σημείο του σώματος που τσιμπήθηκε σε ζεστό νερό σε θερμοκρασία γύρω στους 45 με 50 βαθμούς Κελσίου για περίπου 30 έως 90 λεπτά. Για άμεση αγωγή, μπορείτε να έχετε μαζί σας θερμοκίστη και να τη χρησιμοποιήσετε υποβρυχίως μέχρι να αναδυθείτε, οπότε και θα πρέπει να συνεχίσετε τις πρώτες βοήθειες έξω από το νερό. Το σημείο που τσιμπήθηκε μπορεί να φουσκώσει ή και να αλλάξει χρώμα. Το κρύο δεν ωφελεί. Το τσίμπημα μπορεί να είναι σοβαρό εάν υπάρξει αλλεργική αντίδραση ή εάν προκληθεί αναφυλακτικό σοκ. Συνήθως το τσίμπημα απλώς προκαλεί πόνο, ο οποίος είναι έντονος τις πρώτες ώρες και εξασθενεί με την πάροδο του χρόνου. Για κάθε ενδεχόμενο, σε περίπτωση τσιμπήματος, αναζητήστε ιατρική περίθαλψη, ειδικά στην περίπτωση συμπτωμάτων αλλεργικής αντίδρασης. Ο ορθός τρόπος αφαίρεσης των ακανθών από το ψάρι, όταν αυτό αλλιευθεί, γίνεται με τη χρήση των ειδικών γαντιών. Κρατώντας το ψάρι από το στόμα, κόβεται με δυνατό ψαλίδι τις σκληρές άκανθες, αρχίζοντας από τη μεγαλύτερη άκανθα που βρίσκεται μπροστά στο κεφάλι, στη ράχη του ψαριού, στο ραχιαίο πτερίγιο και συνεχίζεται προς την ουρά. Αφαιρέστε επίσης τα πτερίγια που βρίσκονται στην κοιλιά και την έδρα του ψαριού. Αφού το αφαιρεθούν όλα τα πτερίγια, μπορείτε να χρησιμοποιήσετε το ψάρι με ασφάλεια. Μπορείτε να κρατήσετε τα μη δηλητηριώδη πτερίγια, τα οποία βρίσκονται στο πλάι και την ουρά του λεοντόψαρου για τη διακόσμηση του πιάτου σας ή για να τα χρησιμοποιήσετε για κατασκευή κοσμημάτων και έργων τέχνης. Μειώστε τους πληθυσμούς των λεοντόψαρων. Βοηθήστε την τοπική αγορά, δίνοντάς της νέα πηγή εισοδήματος μέσω των λεοντόψαρων. Για περισσότερες πληροφορίες, επισκεφτείτε την ιστοσελίδα www.relyonmed.eu.
On this stick if anyone wants to get a copy of that as well. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation. Hope you learn more about lionfish. So, any questions? Was it clear? Yes, it's clear. Good, good. What is the solution? The natural solution. Well, there isn't a natural solution to the Suez Canal, which is the main problem. What's needed is the desalination brine from making fresh water needs to go into a section of the canal to prevent the transfer of species. That's what happens in the Panama Canal, if you think about it. There's an area that's got, in that case, low salinity. That stops the movement. So there needs to be a reinstigation of a high salinity area in the canal. But the natural solution to the lionfish, now they're here, because you can't exterminate them, is to encourage the protection of big predators. So when my father was first diving in the south of France, in the caves, you could see really big groupers. He was frightened once, because it swam past him, gave him a shock, right? I've dived in the caves in the south of France, I never see these huge groupers now. They've gone. But they need to come back, because they're the types of fish that can tackle the lionfish. So what's needed is some protection of the natural stocks of big animals in the Mediterranean. That's the solution. Okay.
Professor, have you ever had any, or you found any attacks or rejection about or from some animalistic groups or movements?
Do you mean, have they been attacked by other predators?
No, I mean groups, animalistic groups or...
Oh, I see. You mean animal rights type
Yes.
people
Yes.
who might be offended by this. No, we haven't had any resistance at all,
Okay.
which is interesting actually, because they are beautiful animals, and nobody really likes to see animals suffer, right?
Exactly.
But despite their beauty, they are very, very voracious predators that will wipe out fisheries unless they're tackled. Okay, so I think fishermen, at least, will be very, very keen to reduce the populations around these islands. And I imagine the tourist industry would be able to make money if they said, we keep our beach free of lionfish. You can swim here safely. Please come on holiday here, because we remove the lionfish.
I'm asking because maybe it sounds like a little strong to call people to kill one animal. But, I mean, me and I guess now all of us understand that it's better to catch and kill this animal than let it keep growing into the sea.
Yeah.
But when it sounds maybe for a person who is not informed about this, and it maybe sound a little strong, like let's go and kill the fish, but we all know now that it's the best solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, I know, obviously some people will be morally against killing these fish, but personally I think it's the best thing to do. Yeah, and create a market so that there's an incentive for people to go out and catch them.
Right, and I was going to ask if commercial fishing of lionfish is incented in any way.
Sorry?
Is the commercial fishing of lionfish incented in any way?
Incentivized, okay.
Incentivized, sorry.
Not yet. I was talking to the Food and Agriculture Organization only last week, you know, the one in Rome, where their job is to make sure people don't go hungry. They want to develop sustainable fisheries for this lionfish, and they're writing a report now to say how to do it, because there is already a sustainable fishery for the blue crab that's in the Mediterranean now. It's in Tunisia, it's in Cyprus, so people are catching it to eat. The only tricky thing about this, though, is that once the fishery is developed, then people might say, well, we want to encourage the lionfish more because we make a living from it. So it's tricky. It's tricky. What you really want is to fish them unsustainably, so you lower the population. Yeah. Yeah.
In Cyprus, they promote swordfish to eat it. We only have a lot of swordfish in Cyprus. I don't know much about lionfish, though. So they need to do maybe an awareness campaign to let the public there, even the locals, to start eating these lionfish.
Yeah, I think I thought we did a good job with Liomed, but clearly not everybody in Cyprus knows this problem.
No. That's good.
Yeah. No.
I'll go back and I eat it.
Good.
When I go back.
Okay, am I off the hook?
Yes, very good.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so now, I will tell you about the lionfish case in the Caribbean. We have also a small documentary that we made here in the island. So after that, I will show it to you. So in Colombia, I'm also from Colombia. So in Colombia we had also the problem. I didn't know, I realized it here. Uh, so yeah, there is an issue with Colombia, and the lionfish arrived to the ocean by the humans. They say that they bring lionfish to an aquarium in Florida, and after the Hurricane Andrew, the lionfish went to the water, the Florida waters. So after some years, I'll show you. After some years, they start to see all the lionfish in different parts in the north of Carolina. Then also they start to see in Belize and different islands in the Caribbean Sea. But they took long to realize that it was an invasive species, and they start to take more action between 2008 and the last years, of course. But in Colombia, the actions start in 2012. And it was, I met a chef this year, at the beginning of this year in Colombia, and we had a conversation about that. He is a famous chef, and he told me that he was in Panama. He met a diver, and the diver asked him about the lionfish. He said, do you know about lionfish? And he said, no, never. And he said, it's very tasty, you should try it. And he didn't have time to be with him and to prepare it, so he left. But he had that in mind, and he started to research a bit more about the lionfish. He met a situation, and then when he was in Colombia, someone came to ask him to prepare a dinner, a special dinner, for environment organizations and some people from the United Nations, and they told him to have a dinner with the topic of environment. So he was thinking, what should I prepare, and he realized that it was a good idea to make the lionfish. So he made the dinner, he prepared everything, but he didn't say it was lionfish until the end. So everybody was eating. When he said this is lionfish, everybody was super happy, like they were impressed, because they were thinking that it's a fish that they will get poisoned, because there is misinformation. So even here in the island, when I ask about lionfish, they say, no, but you will get poisoned. So it's normal, because not everyone knows. So okay, in Colombia they had the dinner. They were very happy to try the fish. After that, he had the idea to introduce that to his restaurant. But he got a better offer, and they say, we want to start a project with you for the lionfish. So we have the funding, we have the people, and they start to make a project. The problem was that the lionfish in Colombia was forbidden to fish. So they had all the resources, but the law didn't allow in that moment. So they had to make another project. So they invite some members from the government, and they invite them to have a dinner with lionfish, which it was forbidden to fish. So after that, in the dinner, they had a meeting, and they discussed about this, and after a long process, they managed to get a law and allow to fish the lionfish. After that, they had many campaigns, and they did something very good. And they say we have to involve the people. How can we transfer the message? So they involve the church. So during the Easter, they talked with all the priests and they said that they should mention the lionfish because usually in the Easter season you don't eat meat. So they made a campaign with the church. They also made a campaign with the supermarkets, and something that was very important is to get the frozen fish. Because if you cannot, okay, you can fish it, but if you are a consumer, you go and you don't find it easily at the supermarket, you are not fisherman, so you don't know how to get it. So it is very important to involve also the supermarkets, the business, so we can have a distribution of frozen lionfish. Then there are some successful cases of lionfish control in Belize, Bonaire, and Bahamas. Also, in Colombia, they have created also tournaments, education awareness campaigns, and they are creating protected areas. But still, even if they have a lot of initiatives, the problem is to measure this control. This is the chef I was telling you. He included all the lionfish in the menu, and it was a famous restaurant for lionfish, a great ceviche. And he also had a TED Talk, and he was telling the full story, how it was the process, how hard it was to get people to know the lionfish and believe that it's not poisoned, and so. But the good thing is like that now there are many restaurants in the north of Colombia selling lionfish. This is also a diver. He sent me some videos last week because he managed tour packages, including diving. So now inside the tour, he includes also lionfish fishing and the experience after the fishing to have a bonding and eat all together, prepare all together. So this is also very positive because we can not only in the tourism sector, we can not only involve the restaurants, but also the tour guides or the divers or diving parks. So also it's very important to have to measure this to see the impact. Some KPIs could be education, fishing, selling, eating, educating and calling, and education, fishing, selling, and transform. Transform could be the jewelry, let's say. And then with this, if you scan the QR code, you can have a menu with 3 recipes of lionfish. I will put it later because I don't know if from here you can make it. It's working? Oh, great. So you can see the menu. You have a recipe book. Is it working? Great. So it was very interesting because when we went to Monaco in March, we had a presentation, and we bring this with us. Then I say you can scan the code. But then, of course, they don't have lionfish in Monaco. So someone came to me and say, how can I prepare these recipes if I don't have lionfish? And I say, yet. You don't have it yet. So the idea is to try to promote to get the lionfish frozen. You will bring one, great. And you will prepare it. And then, of course, yeah. For the Ocean Week, we were planning to have a lionfish dinner, but it was very complicated to bring the logistics and to bring the lionfish because the cold chain could break at some point. So it was not that easy. So that's why we bring the prince to try it here. And the lunch on Monday with the Prince Albert II of Monaco was a lionfish menu. So we had soup, lionfish soup, which he told me was the first time in his life he tried the lionfish soup and he liked it. We had the sashimi, and it is a environmental problem with a gastronomic solution. So we're gonna show now the video. Mateo, can you play the video, please? Thank you. It was a homemade documentary. The sound? No problem.
Went fishing yesterday at like 6 o'clock in the morning with a fisherman and with his wife, and they were very nice. They didn't speak Français, French or English. They speak only Greek, so I have to traduce with my phone, but it's okay. They are very interesting. In the beginning we have little fish because we are in the coast, and after we go in plain water and we have tuna, we have like beautiful fish and big fish and fish I never see anymore, like red fish, long fish with crabs, many of seafoods and fish. It was very cool for me who like fishing. We see tuna jumping on the of the water, and it was very beautiful, and the tuna was like very big. So I was very cool experience. I think people should eat lionfish if you like fishing, if you like cooking fish. It's very cool because it's an invasive species who eat a lot of little fish, and these little fish are important. And this is the money of fishermen, and this is Greek culture, like fishermen, like restoration, and these fish are gonna disappear. And if people eat lionfish, there are least lionfish in water, and lionfish is very good, and it can be a real piece of the Greek culture. I discover a lot of species, and I can have fish for me for cook. Lionfish. The lionfish is invasive species, so we decide to cook it for prove it can be eat, and eat the lionfish may be a solution for his invasion. So we will make ceviche. It's Elafonisos eco because it's an association who take care of nature. So I'm here for discover the island and the fishing of the lionfish and try to have solution against the lionfish invasion. So we are gonna clean it and make a fillet. I take my fish. The spine is very toxic, so I have to cut it.
Questo dopo passiamo tutto all'acqua. Poco e uno. Togliamo pure questo. Ok, bravissima. Taglio così, brava. Ok, butti il filetto, va? Oh, meglio di me.
Garlic and pepper from the lemon tree. I will take off the fish. I'm gonna fry it. I take it and it go to oil. It's fast. Bon appétit. Oh, I forgot the wine. Enrico? Enrico, please? Yes, perfect.
I was waiting.
Okay.
My suggestion
Yes.
with the lionfish, it is a rosé wine, Côte de Provence.
Okay.
Do you agree?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, I
We
agree.
go.
Okay, perfect. To prepare the table for my guest, and I think I finished, so I'm kind of tired. I will go home.
Pauline, regarde le poisson que j'ai attrapé.
Oh, super.
Il est beau, hein?
Super.
Tu vas me le préparer, j'espère?
Oui, il est super joli ce poisson, mais par contre tu me rajoutes beaucoup de travail.
Ah.
Donc ce qu'on va faire, c'est que je vais prendre le poisson, je vais cuisiner demain ce poisson,
Ok, ouais.
mais je t'invite aussi à goûter avec moi le lionfish.
Le lionfish, j'ai
Ouais.
jamais goûté ça.
Bah, tu vas voir, c'est super bon et c'est
Ok.
super utile de le manger. Donc je veux bien que tu m'emmènes ça parce que ça a l'air lourd.
Allez, on y va.
Ok.
È perfetto? Va bene, dottore? Chiamate.
Va bene.
Adesso sono amore che dico, Oh là là. Magnifique.
This is very tasty, very good, and I think you should try it because it helps the ocean, because the lionfish isn't good into the ocean, but it's very good into the tummy.
Here in Mediterranean, we need to cook lionfish to protect environment. So taste it. I like it. You'll like it.
Great. And now we're gonna have Enrico. Mhm.
Hear me?
Enrico, hola.
Do you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. The last movie film, we didn't have a Sharon Stone.
Wait, one moment. One moment. One moment, please.
Hello?
Hello, Enrico, can you hear us? Can you
Are you
listen?
ready?
Okay. You hear me?
Yes, can you speak?
Hello?
You hear me?
Enrico, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Do you hear me?
No, I cannot hear you. Wait a minute, wait a minute. We can hear you, but I cannot hear you. Just wait a minute.
Hello?
Enrico,
1, 2, 3.
please
Hello?
speak.
Do you hear me?
Okay, 1 minute.
Enrico,
Yes,
can you
can
hear
you
us? Enrico, can you hear us?
Yes, I listen you. You hear me?
We can hear you.
You hear me?
Enrico, can you hear me?
Cosa devo fare?
Enrico, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Enrico.
Enrico, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Enrico,
I
can
hear
you
you,
hear?
I see you.
Enrico, listen, but we don't listen to him. We cannot hear him.
We have a returner, so just a second.
Just a second.
Enrico, le cuffie.
Ah già, giusto, bravo. Ecco, hai ragione, perfetto. Mi cuffio. Un attimino. Aspetta. Aspetta,
Enrico, okay. Enrico, can you?
Cambiarmi.
But before we can.
Ecco.
Before the, in the beginning of the
Cuffia,
call.
aspetta.
Yeah. But
Cuffia,
at the
un
beginning.
attimino.
At the beginning, yes.
Right and left. You hear me?
Yes. But we have an echo. So
You
I
hear me?
have to
You
manage
hear me
it.
now?
Enrico, can you listen me?
I listen you. You hear me?
Yes, we can listen to you, but we have an echo. So just a second.
Yes.
Okay, Enrico, just speak. Speak, please. Don't stop speaking.
Can I speak? Is okay now? You hear me? Can I go? Do you hear me? I'm here.
Just wait a minute.
Yes. Slot this morning, just let you know that the last movie, it was not done by Spielberg with Sharon Stone, but it was done by a group of volunteers from Elafonisos and Pauline, that she became in love with the lionfish. I hope that you like it, and if you like it, a little applause to them. Just inside Elafonisos, we had Colleen, that she was a volunteer. She came last year for 6 months in order to see the situation of lionfish in Elafonisos. She did a very good job. She made a very good report in French, and she worked a lot checking the report done by our friend Jason. This year, we had 3 volunteers, and they studied for 1 month what it was done by Colleen, and they prepare this video, and also they work in order to see what we can do in the future. This summer, we have 4 volunteers. They will come and they will focus on action on lionfish. From my perspective, we have a lot of activity around Europe and around Greece, but we miss the coordination. The study done by our friend Jason, it was done in April 2022. Now it is 1 year later, and my question it is, I don't see as today one frozen company in Greece that have a system to freeze the lionfish, and I don't see in any restaurant in Athens, and also until last Friday, no restaurant in Elafonisos serving the lionfish. Does it mean that I'm a little bit provocative, but the big study, very, very well done by Jason, it remains in our library, and the action are missing. There are activity in Cyprus, there are activity through IC, there are activities in Amorgos, but everyone is working inside their group, and there is no connection between each other. My objective, it is to launch today a proposal. Can Elafonisos become a laboratory in which we have a team? They will collect all the information around Mediterranean Sea, also around Caribbean, also around Japan, and to start from the Suez Canal to go to the legislation, European one and country one, in order to have the right legislation, because I believe that one of our weaknesses of our system, we act only when we have the fire in our back. And I know what is a fire in our back. It is very dangerous. It's better to be ready before. And to do it, we need collaboration and action. And to put together a team, I believe that Jason, you must be one of the pillars of this team. And the final objective, it is to have in London the Welton restaurant. They have a very good Dover sole in their menu. They need to have the lionfish. In Monaco, when it is Alain Ducasse restaurant, need to have a lionfish. In Athens, the restaurant Milos need to have a lionfish. In Italy, with Campolo, you need to have a lionfish. And to do it, we need to train, to have an action that go behind Elafonisos, but we need to have a starting point from which we could disseminate and over there to have a group of experts that will work in order to arrive to have the right supply chain, because we need to start from the study done by Jason, and from there start with registration. Secondly, start with the fishing, and there is, we show today only the fishing with a diver, but you saw that most of the fishermen in Elafonisos, they fish with a net, and with the net they could find also a lot of lionfish. When they fish it, they need to give to a company that are frozen, to frozen them, and the fresh one in the different area, different country, different island, you know, to have them, and the restaurant need to have them on board. It was very interesting that Prince Albert II, that he signed in April 22 the big study done by Jason, but it's the first time 12 months after that he tried a soup. We need action, and we need now to have the way that all supply chain is working. And I believe that one of our big problem that we failed on communication, and we fail in education, and we fail in information. That means that if you talk to 100 people around Greece or around Europe, first of one, most of them, the lionfish, if you touch it, you died. Second one, they don't believe it is good to test it. And third one, they don't care if tomorrow they say, no, it's not a risk. Because the big problem, to clarify that, and I spoke to the fisherman in Elafonisos, just as an example, today the major income for Elafonisos, it is the tourist. Until 15 years ago, it was the fisherman and the fish. And today it is still known, Elafonisos is one of the best fisherman group, and the fish that you fish in Elafonisos are the more tasty one. But if you don't do nothing, I can subscribe that in 10 years, maybe earlier, that no more octopodia, no more barbuña, no more sardines, no more anchovies, because they will be eaten by the lionfish. And if you wait too much, the big opportunity to have Elafonisos being a very well-known group of fishermen, we will lose the big income activity. But this one must be clear, because if the people are skeptical, said, oh, no, it's not true, when it becomes a reality, it is the same. In the 14th century, somebody was thinking that the herd, it was just flat, and didn't want to accept that the herd, it is round. Now it is the same. If we don't believe in it, we will lose our battle. And I agree with Jason that the issue about the Suez Canal, it is crucial, because if we can reduce the entrance, it will be great. We have no idea how many lionfish we have in the Mediterranean Sea. We have no idea how many we fish. We have no idea. So we have a very good study, very good people that believe in it, but it's done in a random way. And if you don't do it in a real coordinated way, we lose the battle. And lose the battle, it is that the fisherman group in Elafonisos, from 95 professional fishermen, around 80 amateur fishermen, instead to go to fish, they will cultivate tomato or onions or potato. It is the way they will survive. And I believe it is much more better to fish octapodi, barbugne, anchoas than cultivate just tomatoes. Or here it's good to cultivate tomatoes. I'm not against, but we need to have other people that cultivate tomato, onion. You know that the onion of Elafonisos, 8 years ago, they were the best onion from Greece. Now there are no more people that are producing onion outside just Panayotis, but it is nothing to do with fishermen. What I insist is that if you don't put together a group, we will arrive next year back again, in which our friend Jason will explain his very good study. We will have some sport activity around different countries, and we will not make a plan. For me, it is a key whether to finish this day in a lionfish to an agreement in which we have, and we need to have a group of people. Maybe we need to have, we have a good relation with European funding. We need to found not a study, but found a action. And we know to do it, but between knowing and to do it, it is a big difference. To know it, we know it. Not everybody. But action, it is a key point to get this one done. And here I believe that we need to real gain. And a phone could be a laboratory, could be a way that we start. And my suggestion it is to have an agreement after the month of October, when we, after the new election from the different municipalities in Greece, to have a working group in Elafonisos that come in October, and they spend 1 week with their brain, not to brainstorming, but to have a plan in which next year, when we come here, we'll show to Prince Albert II not only that the soup, it was a good one, but we'll show to him that in Alain Ducasse, a restaurant in Monaco, they will sell and will have lionfish in their menu. So I believe that we have a great responsibility, because if we don't prepare now, the future will be against us. I like the idea when Jason said we need to define well what it is an economical budget, an economical way of selling lionfish. It could be 30 euro a kilo, 40 euro a kilo. We need to decide, because if you position, and again, I come with my market experience, you need, before to start, to real where you like to position your lionfish. You like to position lionfish as a cheap one, or to lionfish as a star in the fish. And it is a decision, and we need to go how much money a fisherman could get when he take a lionfish. And I believe one of his responsibility through the net or two they want, to catch it, to clean it, take out all the around, and we need to check who is in charge to clean the lionfish, and afterward, who is in charge to sell it. We have in Elafonisos Nikos, that is a fisherman shop, fish shop. I would like to have him when I come back, I hope as soon as possible, walking on my leg in Elafonisos. When I ask him, which kind of fish can you bring me for tomorrow? On top of Sphyrida, or Sinagrida, or Fagri, he will say I have the lionfish, the fresh one. And at the same time, I believe that the Panayotis aromatis that deserve lionfish, deserve frozen fish, he will have in his store, in his warehouse, the lionfish. and I contact a big Greek company. They are frozen fish. Unfortunately, they could not be there, but it is some areas, and we will, because we need to integrate also them, because if you want to have a lionfish frozen, we need to have a company, they will have a frozen supply chain. Or my point it is, I would like that under the umbrella of my friend Jason, to define before to leave some key point, agreed on this one, and to have the different measures that agreed, the different user that could agreed, and we can go ahead in this way. I was quite long, but I believe that for me, for this symposium, and we have two pillars. One pillar, it is the SOSD1, that it is the Summit of Sustainable Development 1, in which the different stakeholders, including the major, agreed to really have KPI to follow ecological project they will put in place. And the second one, it is the lionfish, that is something for Europe, for the Mediterranean Sea, and also for Greece. All the other projects, from the waste management, from Pablo Petri, for what we did it is something that is more for Elafonisos. Lionfish and SOSD1, it is for Mediterranean. Thanks a lot. I believe that you agreed. I don't want to come back here in 1 year and say, yes, we will try, we will check it. We have something done in Thessaloniki, something I don't know where, but there's no coordination and no plan. I would like to have the frozen fish, that is lionfish, in the different big wholesaler company, and also the fresh one. Do you agree?
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Could I just add a quick thought? Is it true that in Greece you cannot use scuba and these? So I think a different approach is needed in Greece. You don't need to use scuba to catch these fish, because you catch them from breath holding, and you can catch. Sorry? You can't sell. So I think quite quickly there needs to be a meeting here with the fisheries ministry type people, as well as the fishermen, because only then will these blockages be opened up. Because we need the freehold divers to be able to sell their product, and in all of the shops, the tourist shops in this island should be selling bulbes, you know, because you don't need to freeze it even, you just make soup, put it in bottles, put a nice label on the front, and I think it would be ideal. Did you hear that? Did you hear me there? I think the bulbes would be a really good selling product. Did you hear Enrico? No.
Hello? I hear you.
Okay, repeat please. Enrico, can you hear me?
I agree that we can go in this direction. Go ahead, just to have a plan. We communicate on the media. I believe that the Prince Albert Foundation could be one of our sponsors. We need other sponsors that will agree. And if you, Jason, you could check on European level which kind of funding we could get it, I believe that we will go ahead with a very, very interesting project. And we need to say that it is urgency. Is not to think, not to believe or not believe it, it is action. No action, we will cry like a crocodile in 10 years of now. Well, and I don't want to have a crocodile crying. I want to have happy people. They will say that, okay, This group did a very big job. Thanks a lot. And now we reduce the risk. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you pass on the idea about bouillabaisse then at some point? Because I think that should be in the shops here now. Bouillabaisse, the soup in the jars, because you don't need a freezing house to be able to market that product. You could have it in all the shops, and then everyone in Greece knows that you make this. A speciality of this island is bouillabaisse. I would buy it. I think it would be delicious. Yeah, soup bouillabaisse. Yeah. No, in the glass jars. Every time I go to France, every time I go to Monaco, I buy myself some poisson soup because the French make it very nice. And it's, you can make it easily. The restaurants here could make it and sell it.
Do we have Matteo, our diver, in the room? Matteo, can you give us your opinion with your friends, your goals and the other?
Dimmi cosa vuoi dire. Oops, sorry.
Matteo, dai.
Vieni.
You can speak Greek, no problem.
I don't know what to say. Hi, everybody. I'm here just to translate what Matteo, the fisherman, is saying.
The fishermen don't speak well English, only Greek. And dici che il pesce leone è aumentato troppo.
So the lionfish is really growing in its number, its population is really getting bigger and bigger, the amount.
5 years ago we find one fish.
For example, 5 years ago we find just one fish, but nowadays
now you can find 100 fish and
100. So the proportion is quite big.
The proposal is that we can eat this fish normally or come gli altri pesci.
So yeah, the aim of this action is to try to sell this fish, to eat this lionfish as well as the other fishes.
Perché alla fine è un pesce buono.
Because it's a good fish, essentially, and
si riproduce tantissimo, non ha nemici naturali.
It gets no predator, so it getting increasing in its numbers incredibly fast.
Probabilmente siamo gli unici a mangiarlo.
And probably we are just the only one now that eating them.
A differenza dei mari tropicali dove c'è la cernia che lo mangia.
Differently from the tropical sea where the cernia
group eat this fish.
Group is a predator of the lionfish.
And I think also the human is a predator of lionfish.
This is the purpose of all this talking. We need to start to eat this, and it's in my opinion also an ecological action to start to eat mostly that one because it's infesting. Proviamo a tradurre.
Okay, good. My question is, in Cyprus, there are some places now where the lionfish is the most common fish. You don't see anything else, you just see lionfish. Is it the same? Is it the same here?
Ci sono un po' di si vedono altri pesci. Io penso che sia la conseguenza normale dell'invasione di questo pesce.
In his opinion is...
No, ancora no, però il cambiamento sta avvenendo. In
Change
5 anni
is
da
happening.
0 siamo a 100, nei prossimi 5 anni probabilmente siamo a 1000.
But I don't get the answer, the question.
Se che qui non ci sono pesci, stanno cambiando.
Here is changing too the situation.
5 years ago
no
As
lionfish.
we-
Now 100.
Yeah.
Another 5 years is possible only lionfish, as well in Florida
Enrico said
or
before.
Cyprus.
Yeah. Point is quite easy to get. I think that's, yeah.
Non è facile neanche pescarli con le reti perché sono pesci diffidenti che hanno dei sensori.
And it's not easy as well to get them with the nets because they are very smart fish and they running away.
Il metodo più facile che hanno provato anche in California è prenderli con l'arpione.
Easy way to get them is with arpione. I don't know that one. Any questions?
Ready? Okay. So, I represent IC. Based on the work done by Jason and by Mer within Reliant in Cyprus. Enrico already knows that we are working with invasive species in the national level, is also blue crab, as Jason already mentioned, but also including lionfish. First of all, Enrico, there is a restaurant in Athens that is selling lionfish. You should visit our map. And it's not that well known yet. This is true, but since we started before 3 years in very regional level, starting from some islands in Greece, in the Cyclades and the Ionian Sea. This is the second year that we are working on the topic in a national level. So we have created material for promoting the consumption of lionfish. We have a huge book of recipes. We are in collaboration with different entities around the Mediterranean for this case. So all the materials are ready for anyone to use them for chefs and covered here. We are working with fishers, recreational fishers and professional fishers. The reason why there is not this focus effort in Elafonisos from our point, because Elafonisos Eco works very well on the topic, is that we had to focus on two different cases. The one is the areas like Crete Island and Rhodes Island that have the abundance of these species in these amounts that could support a national a supply chain of these products in a national level. So we are working with these areas that can provide the amount of lionfish in the food supply in a national level. And then we are working in other cases that the amounts of lionfish found in the areas can only support the local supply chain. And I suppose that this is the case here in Elafonisos because Mr. Panagiotis, the fisher, can provide an amount of lionfish for the local taverns and restaurants. But I don't think that these amounts are enough for supplying a chain in a national level. We are talking about huge amounts. We are already in contact with the two biggest companies of processing seafood and fish in Greece. Both of them are asking for ways to work with these fish, of course focusing on the amount of meat that can be provided to them. And what they want is huge amounts in a whole year round, which is not the case for lionfish here in Greece because still we find them mainly during summer and during hot weather. They are not that common and easy to find them during winter. So this is something we are working in. The roadmaps on how to introduce this in the supply chain in a national and a local level will be ready during the next months, and all of our materials are publicly available. And you are a very powerful piece of our puzzle to implement everything here in Elafonisos, because the community, from what I get now, is that is very well connected and very well organized and collaborative. So you can try and use everything here in Greece, and we are always, like you already know, we are always here to work it with you. The previous year, me personally, during the Elafonisos week, had a speech for lionfish and in general for this project, Pick the Alien, in order to make the topic a bit more well-known among the local community. And I see that your efforts are going very fast and very well, and this is very good. And what else? All of our materials are public, and as we already said, we are very, very willing to do everything here in Elafonisos. And we are also organizing some events targeting fishers and restaurants to make them aware of how they can work with these kind of species. And together with Jason, we are trying this pilot use of traps from fishers to see if they will work and provide them to fishers, targeting lionfish. But some of our events are also remote, so you can join them, and you can empower the local community to join them and be more informed about the issue. And of course, we are willing to organize anything here in Elafonisos, but this is something you already do very well, so we are at your disposal to discuss the results or everything that can get the things one step forward. Jason, do you agree?
I think we need a new follow-up meeting targeted on this topic with the fishermen, the authorities, and everybody, and probably the seafood sellers. Yeah, that would be really good. If we can do that quickly, that's even better.
Sorry, just another small addition, because you already mentioned about the policy decisions and things based on policy. At that point, first of all, we are following Jason's and Pericles' updates on what is going with the best practices of management in order to have some suggestions to make. But this is the period when the action plans for the marine protected areas in Greece are launched for public consultations. So they are the action plans that will be adopted for the management measures that are going to be enforced during the next years for the marine protected areas. And we participate in these public consultations, and what we've noticed is that invasive alien species and their management is missing from the measures that are going to be applied. So what we are going to do, what we are doing at this level, is to always include them in the public discussions that invasive alien species should also be included in the management measures for the marine protected areas. Thank you.
I would like to add one point, Caterina. One point.
Sure.
You hear me?
Sure.
I believe that another point important it is to have, and we start in Elafonisos, a no fishing zone in order to repopulate some grouper also, and non-fishing zone could help to repopulate the flora and the fauna in Elafonisos. And when we have no fishing zone, it could become a diver zone. You know, the people could come to see the nature, and at the end we need to have a diver club that could help a lot also to have information about lionfish. On Saturday, we have our specialist Dimitri Markatos. They will give us a speech on the non-fishing zone, and for me, which is done, it is linked also to the lionfish. And these one are really a big project to work together. All right, just one point that without Matteo, the lunch of yesterday, of Monday, with the Prince was not feasible. Matteo, with his friend of fisherman, he catch more than 100 lionfish in the last months, and he froze them 90%, 10% it was done fresh, and did a demonstration that the frozen lionfish, it is a very, very tasty product. And I believe that Matteo has a #1 chef in this area. Jean-Pierre helping him, and Sabatino, that was always in the Spielberg video with Pauline. I believe they deserve a big handshake in this applause. Without them, we didn't convince Prince Albert II that in the soup, lionfish is very good. Big applause to them. Caterina, you close the section?
Of course, I will. So, yeah, in this case, we received also a recommendation by Jason that it was, instead of no fishing zone, we call it fishing recovery. Fish recovery zone. It's better. It's a recommendation, so we will keep the note. Noted. And now, I think that it's very important to have IC as well here, because you already made before a project that you know Jason, and you are locals. I mean, we are here, and mostly Matteo is from Italy, Enrico is from Italy, I'm from Colombia, so we didn't grow up here, and you know how to handle projects with community. So I think this is a very important role that that we need you in the project, because it's a good combination indeed. So I think we all together can manage to achieve something, and also Enrico and his ability to convince everyone to be part of the project, I think is going to be a beautiful result. So we have to do it the sooner the better. And now, okay, you can say something, Enrico, of course.
Just one, I'm sorry, one last point. It was interesting. Yesterday night, 11 o'clock, Caterina phoned to me, Enrico, tomorrow we don't have the right agenda because there are two speakers who could not come. What we do? I say, don't worry. With the lionfish, we will become the main area of this presentation, and we see that we have late, though not only we cover the spare time that was missed by the speaker, but I'm afraid that Maria, that have to talk about Pablo Petri, she has around 1 hour delayed, but she's patient, she's the vice president of our association, and she knows how we work. So the floor, Maria, is yours.
Bravo, bravo. Maria.
Παυλοπέτρη Ελαφονήσου, η αρχαιότερη βυθισμένη πόλη στον κόσμο. Η προϊστορική πόλη της Ελαφονήσου βρίσκεται βυθισμένη σε τρικουάζ θαλάσσια χρώματα μεταξύ νησίδων και το νεκροταφείο της φωλιάζει σε τροπικούς αμόλοφους και σπάνιους κέρβους. Μεταξύ μιας σμαραγδένιας θάλασσας, ενός καναλιού και μιας γραφικής και προστατευόμενης λίμνης Natura 2000 και Ρασμά. Την τροπική παραλία της Κούντας, ανατολικά του καναλιού για το πέρασμα στην Ελαφώνησο και αποτελεί σπάνιο παγκόσμιο
It is a rare monument of natural and archaeological site. Pavlo Petri combines all the aspects of the Greek civilization, the Bronze area, the Meso-Hellenic civilization, the Minoic civilization, the Mycenaean civilization, and it has influence from the Cycladic civilization. According to the Nicholas Fleming, the English archaeologist Pablo Petri was sunk with the state of Atlantis, the famous Atlantis. This glorious civilization of the Bronze area set the basis for the social, economical, and housing organization and was spread across the whole world. This rare civilization of Pablo Petri has 2,000 years of history, and its end was marked by biblical destructions. The discovery of this cemetery after its discovery was visited in 1904 the first president of the Academy of Athens Phokion Negris and mentioned the existence of that sunken city. After the establishment of the new village of Elafonisos by the people of Mani, they have informed the government for the existence of prehistoric ruins. This rare city with buildings, roads, squares was studied by the Cambridge Institute in 1868. In Greece, for the first time, it was promoted during the 1990s through the books of Dr. Konstantinos Medis. At the same time, this writer started to fight in order to promote and save the Pablo Petri site, and his scientific articles has been promoted by the media in Greece and abroad, have been promoted by the ministry, and has been discussed in the Hellenic Parliament. In 2009, we have started researches, submarine researches, aided with infrastructure by the University of Nottingham, with Dr. Henderson and the participation of Greek archaeologists such as Mrs. Gallo, Mr. Spondilis, and the program was funded by the Institute of Aegean Prehistory, the University of Nottingham, and the British Archaeological School of Athens. 700 meters south of Elafonisos, we can find the islet of Pavlo Petri, which was and the whole area was named after that island. This small island is 200 meters away from the Ponta beach and in the sea between Pavlo Petri, the beach across the sea, and the small islet, which can be found on the northeastern side of Pavlo Petri. We can find the sunken prehistoric city of Elafonisos. The canal is located at the northeastern part of the islet. It's 23 meters long and 1 meter approximately wide, and it is interrupted in 3 points by graves of the cemetery, and its entrance has got a fence in order to control the sea waters that it would send to the lagoon. The bridge over the canal has got an arch, a quite round arch, and this very important Roman bridge that has survived for thousands of years and have been researched in 1860 by the English was destroyed during our days, and this historic canal of the area has been destroyed also. Pavlo Petri has got a settlement quite large for this era. We know that people were rich with a high level of quality of life, and it was an important center for the area. They were farming, they were doing textile, and they were cultivating mussels in order, and we know that they used those mussels to dye the textiles. The communication with the islands shows the high level of the area on a commercial level, and the prehistoric Elafonisos seemed to be connected with the islands of the Aegean, Kythera, Crete, the Eastern Mediterranean, and not with the rest of the Peloponnese, and especially with the mainland villages. We can see two different levels, such as the early Bronze Age, with πώς είναι η κεραμική. We're talking now about the pottery, and we have other fractals with kind of yellowish and green pottery fractals. And they have also, we know that they were of limestone. In 2010, Pavlopetri was depicted as the first prehistoric city with a 3D imaging, and it was promoted for the first time in 2011 and can be monitored. You can watch it in the documentary of BBC, I apologize. In this sunken city of the Bronze Age, we have found enough prehistoric findings, among others, an idol of an animal, an effigy of an animal, other pottery items, 20 obsidian knives and a small cylinder, a bronze item, a bronze effigy, and hair in a bun, storage pottery bins, and all those archaeological findings have been enriched by the recent researches. A very rare drawing, which is unique for Greece, allows us to understand the prehistoric location of Elafonisos as it was shown by the English scientific team in 1868. 15 separate buildings have been studied, 5 roads, 39 prehistoric graves, and there was a paper in the journal BCA in 1969 by English archaeologists. Anthony Harding, John Cadogan, and Roger Powell. The plan of the sunken city, the plan included 10 neighborhoods, buildings of 9 buildings, yards, stairs, roads, stone-paved roads, and other buildings. We believe that it was fancy enough, and we know that it was quite similar to the modern standards. In Pavlopetri, we can find the most ancient palace of rulers in the world, and we know that people have been organizing financial activities in collaboration with Crete, Kythera, Cyclades, Evia, and other very important areas of the known world. Pavlopetri with Kythera has been controlling one of the most important prehistoric passages of the known world. A very rare synthesis of the prehistoric location allows us to enjoy the beautiful location with a sunken city that dates back 5,000 years, along with a cemetery that is located at the eastern side of the Peloponnese. The graveyard, the cemetery, consists of 60 graves, from which some of them now are sunken, are below the sea level. When Lee visited the area in 1806, might have been able to see all the graves. The graves were located in groups, and most of them had an entrance from the eastern side. They are dome-shaped, they have roads, and they have a diameter, and they have a height of almost 1 meter. Near the sea, we can find 4 smaller graves that should be used for burying children and infants. The fact that we don't have an archaeological museum in Elafonisos, along the promotion in the circus of Pavlopetri, should be a priority for all of us. Thank you very much. Alήθεια τώρα, like really.
She was reading, yes, very fast, and it was very dense. Ήρωας.
Αυτό είναι μόνο εμπειρία. Αν δεν έχεις εμπειρία, αυτό δεν το βγάζει.
Ειλικρινά, για όνομα του Θεού.
Δώσ' το κούκλα μου.
Αυτό το έχεις. Θα έκανα αμύγδαλο.
Θα φάω.
Τι μιλάω τώρα, ελληνικά μιλάω.
I got it, yeah. So now I want to give to Mauricio and his wife these bags, because you were here every day. You are here listening to everything, and you are always on streaming, listening to the translation, and I think you deserve both these. Also, now we're gonna have a presentation about about the soil conditioner. So we have on streaming Mufti Morgan, but first we're going to have Caterina Yoldasi that is going to have an introduction. So please, let's go on streaming.
Se mi sentite? You hear me?
Yes.
Just before to have Mufti, I would just to put one point on what Maria talked about Paolo Petri. First one, very well done, Maria. Secondly, if Pablo Petri, it was near Florida, they will have 1 million of people coming to see Pablo Petri because they organize, they promote it in the right way. And if you want to extend the season inside Elafonisos from April, May and June, September, October are 5 months in which Pablo Petri could be real a destination for tourists that are not coming just to put a cream in their face and to become, to stay in Simos, just to take a sun and bath, but the people, they come because they know the history and they would like to know personally what it was Pablo Petri. I believe that, Maria, you need to have a plan in how we could, for the next season, now it's too late, prepare real an activity in Pablo Petri. Today, we make a questionnaire. 85 of visitors of Elafonisos, they don't know the existence of Pablo Petri. It is unthinkable. This summer, we make another study to know what is the situation, but we need to promote in the right way the Pablo Petri area. Maria, you are in charge. Thank you, and now we talk how we could improve the soil with reducing the fact that when we put water, we need less water for our plant. Thank you.